This is Prime Television, your local station. Seven Nightly News with Peter Mitchell.
The Eagles are going to win their first flag.
The Eagles have landed Victorian football's prized possession. The AFL Premiership Cup has gone west, a lot further than Geelong. Good evening. The unthinkable has happened. Geelong, the hope of Victoria, has succumbed to the West Australian Eagles. The grand final, back at its traditional MCG home, was won by the Eagles 16-17 to Geelong's 12-13 in front of a crowd of 95,007 people. Mark O'Brien has followed the fortunes of both teams since early this morning.
5 hours before the grand final started, the Eagles fled their hotel to go for a jog in the Fitzroy Gardens over the road. Bermude's Cats supporters on their way to the MCG were able to size up the opposition as the players loosened up.
They do look smaller, don't they? You know, don't look so ferocious. Hope they stay that way when they're out in the field.
Up the Cats! Up the Cats! We'll have smiles from ear to ear at the end of the day.
There was an air of desperation in parts of the ground as some of the ticketless tried to get to the match. For some, money was no object.
300 for a seat. I want to buy one standing or one seat, please.
Police warned would-be ticket buyers to leave the area.
What you're doing is encouraging the scalpers, which we're trying to discourage.
A long queue formed for tickets from the salvos, but the traditional source had dried up.
People are just taking pot luck, desperate to get in and just hoping that we might get a ticket.
A heavy police presence or a shortage of tickets made scalpers invisible. Several hours later, the entry issue came to an ugly head. Hundreds of AFL members were locked out of the ground after their section of the Great Southern Stand filled hours before the game started.
Basically, I'm not very happy, and there's a lot of people around there who are pretty irate about it.
I think it's a pretty raw deal.
The decision about where AFL members can go is still not been made.
Half an hour before the first bounce, the seatless were allowed into an empty section of the MCG members stand. Geelong players were given a hero's welcome when they arrived at the ground. Billy Brownless's mother was confident her son would fire.
I think he'll do very well today. I really do. I hope so anyway.
The Eagles ran a gauntlet of abuse. This game is not just club against club, it's an interstate war. Geelong is carrying Victoria's hopes that the Premiership Cup doesn't cross the Nullarbor.
Well, it is an Australian competition. It has been for some years now, and inevitably it will happen. This is the year.
We'll see. By the end of it, Carmen and I have always been friends. I'd like to remain so.
The game held the enormous crowd at the MCG spellbound. Outside, millions of others were glued to their TV sets across the nation, either at home or at pubs and clubs. The city of Geelong was enthralled by the desperate contest. And over in Perth, the feelings were similar. In the end, history was made by the Eagles winning their first premiership. Last year's runners-up went one better in 1992 to snatch the game by 28 points. The victors couldn't contain their jubilation.
Outstanding all year, you know, we had our ups and downs, but today, you know what it's like. What you play footy for, we've done it.
So the AFL competition becomes truly national with the coveted Premiership Cup and flag leaving Victoria for the first time. And for Geelong, there's always next year. Mark O'Brien, 7 Nightly News.
Yes, Peter Landy is at the MCG right now, and Pete, Geelong made a great start to the match, but the Eagles looked much fresher after half-time.
They certainly were, Mitch, and the Eagles produced that sensational fight back against the Cats to become only the first interstate team in 95 years to win the premiership. Even though the Cats jumped the Eagles, the West Australians clawed their way back with a blistering second half in which they booted 10 goals to 4. Peter Matera, who won the Norm Smith medal, booted 5, while Sumich kicked 6. Drew Morford has the highlights.
After losing the grand final last year, Mick Malthouse and his boys were determined today. And it boiled over before the opening bounce, before danger man Peter Matera had the first shot within 20 seconds. His marksman Bairstow not prepared to give ground. It was fierce, and when Gary Ablett collected Pike, his game looked over. But he resumed 8 minutes later. Geelong kicked the first 2 goals. Stoneham's on the run, a beauty.
Stoneham towards goal with the left foot. There's another one.
But the Eagles were astray, opening with 5 behinds.
And he's missed.
Generally, the standard was remarkable in the heat of battle. First-year player, Peter Riccardi.
Riccardi, great goal.
And the racehorse Matera, difficult to shut down.
He sets sail behind with a mighty kick. What a goal.
McIntosh started well on Brownless.
McIntosh, marvellous mark.
But when Billy got going, he brought teammates into the game.
Cleverly Kelly to Brown.
and gave the Cats a 17-point lead at the first change.
Over the top to Brownless, goal.
Second quarter, and enter the genius of Ablett.
Works his way in front of, brilliant mark.
And capping it off as only he can.
Magnificent.
There's magic on both sides, and Matera made a goal out of nothing despite the efforts of Bairstow. But the Cats led by 23 points until Tony Evans bobbed up for 2 goals in a minute midway through the turn. Matera was a man who had to be stopped and copped it from all directions as the heat intensified to boil-over point. Brownless set up Ablett for the first goal of the third quarter, and the Cats led by 17 points.
And he's kicked it.
But it was to be their only goal of the term. The Eagles kicked the next 5, Wilson getting one from nowhere.
Like a cork in the ocean over his head. Oh, my word!
And that man, Matera, gave the West Australians the lead for the first time since the opening minute with another special.
Sail for home, and the Eagles hit the front.
He scorched his wing, and remarkably, the Eagles led by 17 points at the final change.
It's going to be a goal.
The Will-o'-the-Wisp opened the last quarter with his 5th and clinched the Norm Smith medal for best of field. Peter Sumich bagged 3 in the last half hour with good leading. And the celebration started well before the final siren when the Eagles moved out of reach. Sumich ended the day with 6 goals and 82 for the season.
He uses that helicopter kick and it works.
The final margin was 28 points, and everyone associated with the 6-year-old club bubbled over with the realisation that they'd made one of the quickest grabs of power and taken the cup outside Victoria for the first time. The AFL forever and emphatically a national competition. Drew Morfitt, 7 Nightly News.
A great win, and I dare say it will be an even greater trip home. Down in the Eagles room at the moment is Tim Watson.
Mick, what's the feeling at the moment? Is it relief, excitement, joy?
I think it's a combination of all, but I think that the most, I spoke to you before about it, the first thing when the siren went, it was real relief, because you sort of build yourself up so much over the course of the year, and as the finals approach and you're lucky enough to get in them, and a few things fell our way and you just get tighter and tighter and tighter, and the final siren went, it was just overwhelming relief.
At what moment in the last quarter did you say to yourself, oh, we've got it, we're far enough ahead now?
Well, I suppose I was holding myself back saying, well, they need 5 to beat us or 4 to beat us, and I looked at the clock, it was 2 minutes, so we had 28 to go, and looked at it again, we had 20 minutes to go, but I just can't let myself go before a siren goes. So I mean, until that siren sounded, I wasn't convinced at any stage that we had it.
Well, congratulations, and enjoy the victory with the rest of the boys and the rest of Western Australia.
Thanks, mate.
I think it's a different mood over there in the rooms with Bernie Quinlan.
Yes, well, bad luck, Mark. It's the second time you've been in this position. It doesn't get any easier.
No, certainly, it's a very disappointing result in the finish, and but I suppose the boys had a red-eyed go. We got out beaten by a better side on the day.
Yes, well, there's no doubt about that. But what can the side do to get that one step further?
Well, it's pretty difficult, with drafts set up, and we really have to keep working at what we're doing and keep the young blokes coming through, and eventually, they'll play enough games, to be a real good force for us.
When did you yourself feel it was starting to slip away from you?
Oh, at half-time I thought we were still in with a good show, and but they came out very strongly in the third quarter. They had a very good third quarter, but even at three-quarter time, I still thought we were a chance. The wind was not a factor. It was still, you could score both ends. But in the last quarter, they steadied and kicked a couple of goals and made it very hard.
All right, thanks, Mark, and bad luck. Well, you never know what will happen next year, so all the best for next year.
Thanks, Bernie.
OK, Peter, back to you.
Thank you, Bernie. And Essendon veteran Terry Danaher finished his distinguished AFL career on a high earlier today when the Bombers' VSFL reserves team won the flag. The Bombers were never troubled in their 33-point victory. Danaher kicked 6, as did Bradley Plain. And in the first VSFL Under-18s Grand Final, Terry Bright's Geelong Falcons were too good for the Western Jets, winning by 42 points. And from the MCG, Mitch, on Grand Final day, that wraps it up.
Thank you, Peter Landy, and remarkably, it's exactly 9 years to the day since Perth won the America's Cup from the New York Yacht Club. And today's news still to come tonight with a breakthrough in the SEC dispute.
Live, folks! A true story of courage and a young man's fight to survive. From the director of The Commitments, Midnight Express, tonight.
The Horsham Agricultural Society's 1992 Grand Annual Show is on September 30 and October 1st. With great exhibitions and this year's special feature, stunt rider David Russell. David will thrill you with his daring feats, so don't miss the 114th Horsham Grand Annual Show.
It's colour, it's magic, it's a spring garden party. You're invited to Pretlove Cottage Nursery's mini Chelsea Flower Show. Enjoy the fabulous floral displays with your friends while watching the 1992 Chelsea Flower Show on a large video screen in a specially erected marquee at the nursery. The colourful display runs from October 3rd to October 11th. Don't miss this great opportunity to enjoy a wonderful spring experience with Kim, Roz and staff at Pretlove Cottage Nursery, 41 Wentworth Street, Warrnambool.
Come and enjoy the fabulous attractions Warrnambool has to offer and stay at the Ocean Beach Holiday Village adjacent to the beach or the Warrnambool Holiday Park in town. Both offer camping facilities, cabin vans and motel-style units with private amenities suiting all budgets. Close by you have great fishing, mini-golf, adventure playground and Flagstaff Hill. The whales are back and you're right on the scenic Shipwreck Coast. Enjoy your stay at the Ocean Beach Holiday Village and Warrnambool Holiday Park, both members of the Big Four Tourist Caravan Parks chain.
Bah! I'm Wooly, and I live in the Sheep Motel at Horsham's Wool Factory.
Come and see Wooly and his friends enjoy the 5-star accommodation of the Sheep Motel, which is why they produce Australia's finest wool. Watch traditional shearing and look back on the history of the wool industry. But that's not all. The Wool Factory shop has woolen items and handcrafted gifts for sale. And if you're feeling peckish, try a Devonshire tea with fresh cream. So come and experience the spirit of the Wimmera at the Wool Factory of Horsham. And don't forget to say hello to Wooly.
Bah!
The Cobden Football Club is holding its annual Football and Netball Awards at the Sports Club on Friday, October 2nd at 7:30 p.m. All associated with the club are invited with tickets available from Gort Motors. Join these proud sponsors and be at the Cobden Football Club Friday, October 2nd.
Threatening Victoria's electricity supply was resolved today in an 11th hour hearing before the Industrial Relations Commission. Sally Moore reports the bans that had crippled Victoria's power generation were lifted by the Latrobe Valley workers late this afternoon.
Crisis talks between power unions and the SEC continued this morning in the Industrial Relations Commission. 2,000 workers walked off the job on Tuesday in a dispute with the SEC over a new work agreement. The Commission was told that power restrictions would be in place by tomorrow night or earlier if work didn't resume immediately. After 3 hours of private talks, the parties emerged confident the dispute was resolved. But the unions are still not ruling out power blackouts until the workers vote on the resolution at mass meetings on Monday.
It cannot guarantee supply. It has to go to the members.
Industry Minister David White, however, says if necessary, the government will buy electricity interstate to guarantee supplies until then.
Steps will be taken progressively over the weekend to restore power, which will ensure that there will not be a need for restrictions.
Bans were lifted late today and the SEC says electricity supplies will be strengthened during the weekend. Sally Moore, 7 Nightly News.
A man has been charged with the rape of a 23-year-old Adelaide woman last month. Dominic Culgliari, aged 21 of Kialba, faces 2 counts of rape, false imprisonment and intentionally causing injury. Police allege the woman was offered a lift home from the Tunnel nightclub in the city on the 30th of August. She allegedly tried to escape after being taken to a park in Braybrook, where police say she was attacked. Police released a video from the nightclub to help them make an identification. Conservation Minister Barry Pullen was the target of an unusual protest today by four-wheel drive enthusiasts claiming to be locked out of Victoria's national parks. The group carried symbolic paper chains to tie up the minister's Fitzroy home, saying the Alpine National Park Management Plan severely restricts their use of public land. They believe the plan unfairly excludes campers, anglers, four-wheel drivers and hunters from access to Victoria's public land. 200 pilot whales have beached themselves on Tasmania's eastern coast. Most of the whales were dead when they were discovered on a sandy beach 10 kilometres north of Bichigno. It's believed they may have been stranded for up to 36 hours before being found. It's the 3rd mass whale stranding on Tasmanian beaches in 12 months. Local wildlife authorities will carry out autopsies to try to establish the cause of the beaching. However, it's thought they may have been caught on a sandbar during an ebb tide. Prime Minister Paul Keating has urged Cambodia to press ahead with UN-sponsored elections despite continuing Khmer Rouge ceasefire violations. In an unprecedented visit by a Western leader to the Cambodian capital, Mr Keating also met with Australian troops serving with the UN's peacekeeping force. Laurie Wilson reports.
The Prime Minister is the first Western leader to visit Cambodia since the Troubles began here more than 20 years ago. He was met by the United Nations Special Representative and the Chief UN Military Commander, Australian Lieutenant General John Sanderson. His first stop, the Australian contingent's headquarters, where Mr Keating was briefed on the current military situation. Mr Keating was told that the Khmer Rouge were involved in frequent ceasefire violations. It's the Khmer Rouge which are delaying the peace process, and the feeling now is that UN-sponsored national elections should go ahead, even if the Khmer Rouge refuse to take part.
It would obviously be better for everybody if the Khmer Rouge joined it. But there can be no right to stall the process.
Later, Mr Keating told Cambodian President Prince Norodom Sihanouk that Australia did not support the use of sanctions against the Khmer Rouge.
More than 1 million people died during the reign of the Khmer Rouge. There are real fears that if this peace process breaks down, those atrocities could begin again. The country thrust back into another bloody civil war. In Phnom Penh, Laurie Wilson, 7 Nightly News.
American basketball legend Magic Johnson has resigned from the US government's Commission on AIDS. In a letter to the White House, Johnson, who has tested positive to HIV, says the Bush administration is ignoring the disease. He says he cannot continue to serve when the Commission's important work is not accomplishing enough because of lack of official interest. The White House has expressed deep regret at the 33-year-old champion's decision and says Johnson doesn't recognise President Bush's commitment. And a landmark decision in the US, a Florida judge has ruled in favour of a 12-year-old divorcing his mother. The boy asked to be adopted by a foster family and have the court terminate parental rights.
When he took the stand, Gregory Kingsley talked about years of neglect, of bouncing from one foster home to another until he thought his mother had forgotten him. Rachel Kingsley cried as she heard her son's memories of their short life together.
Did you ever see any marijuana or other kinds of drugs around the house?
Yeah.
What did you see?
Marijuana.
He didn't trust his mother, Gregory said, and he just wanted a new life.
Why are you doing it?
I'm doing it for me so I can be happy.
His foster father for the last year, George Russ, said Gregory was now part of the family.
As though he were one of my natural-born children.
In the end, the judge listened to Gregory, took him away from his natural mother, and gave him new parents. The verdict set a precedent that gives new power to children, and Rachel Kingsley says she will appeal.
He's always going to be my son. I don't care what anybody says.
Both Gregory and the mother who lost him are now talking to Hollywood about movie rights to their stories. In the United States, Paul Marshall, 7 Nightly News.
After the break, Drew Morfitt with the rest of today's sport, including the shock loss of the North Melbourne Giants.
Okay, boys, let's go.
Are you gonna arrest me?
Challenge me, we all go down.
Tell me you want me.
Take your positions.
I got the guns! Who says you want out?
I am the law. I'm looking for General. I want Dick Tracy dead.
It's the television first. Dick Tracy, 8:30 Sunday on Prime.
With their national tailored home loan, Luca and Michael de Ruyter are saving 8 years and $61,000. What about you? How much will you save with your national tailored home loan? National Australia Bank, tailoring banking to your needs.
Fox 1, you have clearance. 14 satellite, come back.
You might think tires are pretty boring, but if you had to land a Harrier jet on an aircraft carrier 338 meters long, you might think differently about the tires you wear. Little wonder then why the U.S. Navy choose to fit Dunlop tires to their Harrier jets.